From the Diary of Althea Pendergast Nesbit, Initiate of the Church of Pragmatic Peace. February 26th. I never knew much about the Devon. It set sail years before I was born. Folks in the church don't like to talk about it. Everyone's very sure it was lost at sea right after it set out. But no one wants to say why. I have to bring it up from time to time because I tend the books and it's still listed in several of the accounting ledgers, outstanding deposits, collateral obligations, etc. But whenever I do, the older members just get an uncomfortable look and change the subject. And then this morning, Elder Marcus got news that the Devon was spotted just about a day's sail up the coast. I don't know if there's a word that means hopeful, nervous, confused and terrified all at once, but that's the mood around the offices right now. And I don't think I like it. February 28th. The Devon came into port a few hours ago, and the mood has shifted from tense to absolutely bloody jubilant. They've been hauling in crates all morning, and at least some of them are full of actual, literal gold. The foyer is starting to look like a pirate's lair from a storybook. March the 1st. Something else came in on the Devon. The elders are talking around it with a kind of nervous energy that set the whole congregation a-whispering. We've been told to make preparations for a formal dinner tonight. Not just fancy, but properly solemn. We're to prepare the place of honour. March the 4th. He has come for us at last. The voice we had always heard but never known. The shroud we have always worn. Praise be to him. The Black Hand. Fear and glory to him. The Black Hand. He is our calling and our purpose. He is the tongue that speaks our truth. We shall raise him to the heavens. We shall be buried in the shadow of his works.
Welcome to The Chimera, a role-playing adventure podcast. This week, we're returning to our game of the Deep Forest in order to set the stage for Season 3, but before we start, I'd like to take a moment to thank the amazing Kitty Dorkling for recording our intro this week. You may know Kitty as the entirely mundane and innocent halfling seamstress Nerium Oleander from the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons actual play podcast, The Mortal Path. You can find The Mortal Path on all the finest podcast apps or on Twitter at The Mortal Path. Now, let's get started.
So, we are about halfway through the spring season here, and I believe we're back to we did one wheel.
Yes.
Yes.
So we should be back to Vin, I believe.
Yeah, we should probably do a quick rundown of what's on the table.
Okay. You mean like, what do you mean?
Like, what's in play? What are the objects?
Okay, some reminders about what's going on. Okay,
yeah,
so
just go down the list, maybe.
Sure. Monsters on the table we have a young pack of werewolves, the Nesbits, a mummy cult in Marblehead, Mr. Chamberlain, a reclusive vampire, the Siren Fairy on Big Misery Island, the Cistern of the Bitter Well. They've moved around a little bit. And then sort of factions that came up in the course of play. Mr. and Mrs. Foxglove are the couple that was formed by one werewolf whose relationship to the Umbra is sort of screwed up, partnering off with one member of the Nesbits faction. And then some grouping of thaumaturgist vampires who came in from the old country after things went weird during the witch trials. And then in terms of items on the board, Gallows Hill, that's still a point of ghostly activity. The Wild Hunt comes by every 20 years or so. The Vision Spot in Salem Sound is a point that is actually usable by multiple different factions. And also now there's a bridge in the Umbra between Marblehead and Salem that allows easy access to that spot. There's a locus in a grove beside his creek, upriver from Gallows Hill. An eerie fog of whispers and strange shadows haunts Wenham Lake to the north. There's one empty witch hut, which is haunted or something and taboo. Two empty witch huts. Update that in the notes. And now there are some new witch houses in the Salem Woods, which is where the Sistren faction, the remaining Sistren faction, moved to after their former huts had been. They felt like they had to leave. It was, I think, left ambiguous as to exactly why. Mm-hmm. So I guess there's actually a lot of different creepy abandoned witch huts of one type or another kind of hanging around.
Yep.
Anything else people want to remind us of?
There's a weekend gauntlet around Gallows Hill that some folks are trying to fortify and other folks are sort of in opposition of that. But that's, I think, a current ongoing project.
Yes. What are our projects that are open?
I'm sorry. Google Chrome is not responding. So I'm going to close that program. The only project I believe is open is the project that I started, which is that the Nesbits sent going to revert back to my non-online notes because that's just a better plan. They sent what was the term I used? Expedition to look for this mystical, magical, legendary city that they're on the hunt for. They found some evidence of it in Salem, and so now they believe they have the lead on it, and so they sent a ship with a bunch of their members off to go find it, and then Braden added the detail that shortly thereafter one of them woke up with a tattoo that said that's the wrong way. So we know that, or we have a strong indication that that's not actually where they want to go, but that is where they went, and it'll be several. That was a 6-turn project, so it still has several more turns to go before coming to fruition if it does.
So they've been sent off on what might be a wild ibis chase.
Wow.
All right. Anything else anyone feels like they need to remember before we start?
No,
I think we're good.
All right. Oh, it's my turn.
It is your turn. I'm sorry, Vin. I'm just trying to load my notes.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
Here. All right. Well, third choice. I'll go to paper notes in the interim.
What was the little marker here in Northfields? Was that where the thaumaturgists are?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a thaumaturgist. That's supposed to be a blood drop.
Okay.
All right. I got it. So, Vin.
Yep.
For your reference, and again, we're keeping it loose, but by the rough estimate, you're somewhere in the 1735 period. All right?
Okay.
And your card is the Two of Hearts.
Ooh.
And I had to close my web browser, so I don't have...
I've got it up.
You got it up? Okay, so you go ahead and read. What's the Two of Hearts?
Two of Hearts. Either what cultural practice or ritual unifies your community, or there is a monster who did not join in driving off the humans. Where are they on the map? What makes them different? And driving off is not exactly what happened in our version.
No, but I mean, I think we could just say any sort of special outlier case, right?
Yeah. What I'm going to say that there is another fairy somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an older, more nature-oriented fairy that lives out in the woods, like way out in the woods, over to the west. I think all the fairies are just going to end up living off the map.
To the west.
Yes, probably something like a dryad type who generally shuns pretty much anything to do with the human settlement and thus has really not been participating in a lot of the discussions around the mess that has been left behind.
Have we known about this dryad for a long time, or have they maybe just made themselves known?
I think that people have known for a while. They've used this dryad sort of as a a resource in terms of like, you know, when people need to consult certain or commune with certain forest magics, they'll make their way out into the woods and talk to the dryad, but the dryad is very actively not dealing with the political situation in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I say dryad, but, you know, a nature spirit, not necessarily coupled with the sort of European tradition thereof.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nymph, forest kami, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forest Kami. I love it.
Some kind of Galadriel.
I think you mean Kami, not Commie.
Oh,
Oh, yes.
Commie, and I was like, man, that's
Okay,
great.
yeah, I was misled on that.
You know, your
Yes.
deep woods communist.
Forest Commies are my jam.
I think it's actually very funny that which of you took that one way and which of you took it the other. That's like actively amusing to me that Jeff thought it was commie as in communist, and it was
So did
Ethan
I.
who had to point it out that it was the Japanese mythological figure.
The
Like,
reddest of all of us.
way to play it against type, everybody. What's your action going to be then?
Good question. It should be noted that all projects tick down.
Yes.
And I think a new project begins. I'm just trying to figure out who begins it.
How long was the Gauntlet Unweakening project supposed to be?
That wasn't a project. Everybody just agreed it had to happen.
Oh, that was an agreement.
So,
That's right.
So do note that actually the
That's right.
gauntlet around Gallows Hill has been healed because that project was completed.
Oh, it has.
Wait, it's been healed?
I thought they just said they wanted to heal it.
That was just an agreement that we wanted to heal it.
Yeah, that it wasn't a project.
okay.
I thought.
Yeah, I think that was just a declaration
a-
of intent.
Well, it was an agreement.
Yeah, it was a proposition.
My understanding of
Yeah.
agreement is that it can still do something, but maybe that's
I think that's something that's maybe a little bit big to do as just an agreement, though.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
that's a
the-
thing that requires work.
okay.
Yeah, I posed it as we should.
Okay, so it's more like a stated. Got it.
So the only outstanding project is the Nesbits and their
Mhm.
Ibis chase.
Mhm. But I am going to start a project, which is that Mr. Chamberlain, our reclusive vampire, is being a little bit less reclusive because he's conducting a series of interviews and he is collecting elaborate notes and journals about what it is that people see when they attempt to commune with the vision spot.
Hmm.
So he's just collecting, and it's, you know, part of it is collecting it from people who are aware, you know, the various monsters, and part of it is almost like collecting folk tales and things that are heard about town. And I'm going to say that is a long ongoing project. That is a 6-step thing because he plans on just doing that for a long time and seeing what he can collate from that data.
Gotcha.
So how is he? So he's like a vampire that lives in a cave by a lake.
Mm-hmm.
So is he like coming into town? How is he getting people to come out to his cave? Like how is he organizing these interviews?
I think a bit of everything. There are probably some people that he's comfortable calling out. There are some places where he's comfortable going to meet people. He's probably got some proxies. I think he's pulling some strings and having some puppets do some interviews as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of a team effort, even if not everyone knows that they are on the team.
Mhm. I would say if you wanted to, the Nesbits individually, if not as a whole, would be willing to go along with that as kind of daywalkers. But that's your choice.
I think that he is not specifically enlisting like anyone as a full-on collaborator in the project.
This is his jam, and he'll do one-offs in pursuit of it, or
Yeah.
he has particular agents he'll use or something.
Yeah. He might encourage someone like the Nesbits to sort of embark on their own version of it and then just take their data in bulk at some point.
Mm-hmm. Well, as mortals, the Nesbits have a little trouble using the bridge, but they'll take little dinghies out,
Mm-hmm.
take a little boat out, and do that once in a while. That's I figure a regular thing for them to try to get some signs from their patron.
That makes sense. And I am going to draw a little book to indicate that that is what he is doing up here.
And the convenient thing about a 6-turn move in, 6-turn project event, I didn't realize this when I did it. It just means that it's going to come up on your next turn. So it's real easy to remember.
Oh, weird. Huh. All right, Casey's up next.
Casey's up next. Casey,
Yep.
your card is the 4 of Hearts.
The 4 of Hearts says, a powerful tool of the humans is found nearby the settlement. How is it destroyed? What does it cost you? Or, a powerful tool of the humans is found nearby the settlement. How is it co-opted? What pleasures does it offer?
Ooh.
Okay.
And remember, tool of the humans, that just means like it's something powerful, right?
Right. It's a thing
It's a thing.
that they didn't have that now they have. Okay.
Given as we're moving through time, it could also be a new technology, right? I mean,
Could be. I don't know offhand what hot. What,
1742.
yeah, 1742. What's
Yeah.
hot and new in 1742. But hey, if you got an idea, I'm open to it.
Okay. I'm going to say that these, the abandoned witches' huts have been, the community in and of themselves is leaving them alone, but different individuals have sort of poked through them at various times, either needing a place to stay for a few days that was sort of, they knew no one else was going to bother them, or, looking for, someone kind of stumbles across and just pokes through to see if there's anything good that they can steal and use for their own benefit. And underneath the dirt floor of one of these huts was a buried book of arcane spells that has sort of been assumed to belong to someone who lives there, except then why did they leave it? And so no one really knows like who it is that put it there, or like how long it's been there, but it seems to be pretty old, and it seems to be it's fairly promising as something that could be harnessed for, whatever, good or ill. But there's at this point some contention as far as like, well, who gets to keep it and use it, and is belong to the witches, or is it let's say it was one of the werewolves that actually found it, is it theirs? And how is this going to kind of shift the sort of tentative balance of power in the community? So I guess it hasn't been, they haven't figured out what to do with it yet. They just have it, and they're trying to determine like who gets to use it and how without starting fighting among the factions, or maybe different factions want there to be a fight. But
So it's the supernatural community that discovered it? Not the mortals?
It's a supernatural community that discovered it.
But you're not establishing who.
One of the werewolves did.
One of the werewolves, okay.
One of the werewolves it's still part of the established pack, had gone out to these huts for her own reasons and had found this.
and presumably these are the abandoned huts that were abandoned by the ones that left, not the ones that just left their own home to move a little more inland towards the wolves.
Well, they've been out of that hut for what, like how many years now?
So they're two different, all of the huts are abandoned,
Right.
but some of them were abandoned because they left the area completely. And some of them are because they found their homes no longer inhabitable.
Right.
So is it the first group or the second group?
I'm going to say it's actually the second group, the group that more recently left their home.
Okay. So the ones that are still in Salem.
They're still in Salem. They're living in the wolf territory. So,
Okay.
Maybe one of these werewolves was like, well, you're in our space. So,
That Now we're going to ransack your
I
place.
kind of want to smoke a doobie behind the schoolyard. I'm going to use your shed.
So now that the pack is looking to use the book to gain some influence in the community.
It seems like a lot of these kind of incantations and spells have something to do with access to the Umbra, and so they're interested in it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But also because, you know, maybe they don't want other people to have that information.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sort of questionable, like who should this actually belong to? Because technically, like, it wasn't on their land. They just, one of their members found it.
Okay. So just for which of those two was it?
Which of which two?
So the each thing is a choice, right? And 4 is either how is it destroyed and what does it cost you, or what pleasures does it offer, or how is it co-opted?
So I guess I'm gonna go with the second one
Mhm.
because it hasn't been destroyed,
Okay.
and I think there's, you know, promise of greater knowledge and access to the Umbra
Mhm.
is what it seems to hold. Is that a reasonable answer?
Sure.
Sure. Okay. And I guess in the wake of that, I'm gonna say that let's start a new project, which is an attempt to kind of fortify the gauntlet around and within Gallows Hill, where it's weakened. And I think both the witches and the werewolves had sort of they're both groups in agreement that, like, yeah, we want to do that. So they're kind of using the book together at this point, but there's definitely a point of contention as far as who actually gets to claim ownership of it ultimately. And I'm going to say that this project is going to take, let's say, like 8 turns. So it'll be on Ethan's turn after a full circuit.
I'm good with it. I'm just going to note that under normal conditions, it's supposed to be 1 to 6 turns.
Oh,
But
well,
I
then
think
we'll just do 6. That's okay. All right. I didn't know there was a limit.
I mean, this is a story game.
Yeah.
The rules are always at least a little bit loose to begin with.
Yeah. The standard is that you track it using a d6.
Oh, okay.
That's really the only reason why it's 1 to 6.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm fine with 6 if that makes it easier to keep track of.
I think 6 is a good number. It's a long period of time, right? There's
Yeah.
plenty of real time and plenty of opportunities for things to go weird
Right.
in between now and then. Wolves, Gallows Hill. The book have a name? Again, it doesn't have to have a name. I'm just making sure you're establishing what you want to establish.
No, it has a completely blank front, and anytime anyone tries to put something on the front to, like, label it, it doesn't stick. So it's just been called the Nameless Book.
So the book that has no name has a name. It's the name.
Well, it's
Try telling the book that.
I mean, you know, in the same way that when Prince changed his name to, you know, that icon, you still had to refer to them somehow. So
yes, it's true.
this is, since the book doesn't have a name, the way that it's been referred to when someone wants to discuss it or request it is the Nameless Book.
So you're telling me that this book is also in a vicious battle with its distribution company?
That's complicated, and we don't talk about it.
Okay, great.
And I guess I'm gonna make a little, like, red cross to signify that it's in the process of getting maybe fixed up.
And Jeff's up
That's
next.
not a very good cross.
Jeff's up next.
Yay! What's my card?
Your card is the King of Hearts.
The King of Hearts.
Oh, there's only one option for this one. A ritual from the human occupiers has been adopted by some of the monsters here. What is it? Agree on something about why this ritual is vital to retain and preserve as your own. Add the ritual to your adoptions.
Interesting.
So we've been flexible about the humans element of this, right? I think we still could be, but this might be a situation where we don't have to reimagine that, because just a ritual, I can think of a bunch of different things that
A court
colonial
system? A court system?
Sure. Court system, church, anything having to do with church. These are such churchy people.
Halloween.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
That's not
Yeah, both of
probably-
those
Well, actually,
things
that-
kind of don't exist yet, but
Oh,
Yeah. This is kind of a puritanical area too.
Yeah, that's true.
So no Dan's house.
these are the people who literally canceled Christmas. So
Right.
Mhm.
man, everything sucks here.
sure.
What
Well, except
terrible
for the
ritual do we want to take
Christmas-
into our family?
Well, but see, Christmas would be an interesting one because Christmas still did exist.
It's true.
So,
That's true.
so the monsters could be adopting Christmas
Uh-huh.
That's why we were saying
against the will of the humans.
This
Huh.
is a
There's
real
also-
flip on the Grinch tale.
Yeah. The option of like something like a mode of dress, something involving harvesting or farming.
Everybody has to wear those ridiculous buckle hats.
Right.
Yeah.
A scarlet letter.
Ooh.
Scarlet Letter.
I think I really like the idea of a court system. Like something happens between some of these groups and it has to be adjudicated somehow.
Mhm.
And so there is, like, just out of necessity, a need to resolve it in a way that everybody follows the same rules.
Mhm.
Technically you're supposed to do an agree on something for this. So you can have someone make a statement and then we can go around and agree on it by the rules.
Does he have to speak from the perspective of a group?
That's a group or a character.
Okay, so it's not. He doesn't just make a statement. He has to make a statement from the perspective of a group, and then we agree or disagree from a perspective of another group.
Yeah, agree on something is the only in character thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. I don't know what the conflict should be. I'm kind of tempted to lean towards the Foxgloves,
Mhm.
since they're already kind of out doing their own thing.
Hmm.
And maybe, I don't know, like maybe they both demand like true freedom. Like they've survived this long. It's been what, like 30 years, or 20 years,
Like 50 years.
50 years. Like
Oh man,
they
is the Nesbit
feel
even
like-
alive?
That's long enough that they could
They
still be
probably are.
alive. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not impossible.
They're hale and hearty. Well, at least the werewolf would be.
But they're probably near the end of a normal human lifespan at this point. Yes.
Right.
Mm.
But they kind of want to demand like a sense of like respite from everything. And since other monsters are sort of involved, I don't know, like they're kind of right in the middle of all the shit.
Mm.
Right. If you look at, they're surrounded by the Siren and the Thaumaturges and the Young Werewolf Pack and the Nesbits. And maybe they are like, hey, look, this is ridiculous the way that we're operating. Why don't we resolve this in a different way? And they adopt, or maybe that's what the statement is, right? Maybe that's the agree on something. Let's resolve our differences in a way other than fighting, or something along those lines. I don't know if that sounds good.
Sounds pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The thaumaturgists immediately nod in agreement. Yes, a code of laws, and they begin writing.
I would say that the Nesbits agree because they're usually on the losing end if there's fighting. So they're all for some means of adjudication that does not require many of them to die or kind of be eaten.
Mr. Chamberlain agrees and offers his services as an impartial adjudicator or tiebreaker should the need arise.
So a judge?
Yeah, and I think the werewolves are also on board for a variety of reasons, not the least of which being that they do still have a current contention with the witches over several issues, even though they've been working alongside them. So they know that they know this can work.
And I will say that the Siren is consulted on this and appears out of the sea foam in order to have the plans of the community explained to her, and then she disappears back into the sea without making a statement one way or the other.
The Siren abstains.
And then Project Dice advance, and Jeff also gets to do his action.
Let's see. I have an action for my next turn, but I don't have an action for this turn. I want to do something with the spooky. I think I'm gonna uncover something old.
Oh.
And I think that how big is this lake up here in Topsfield?
Oh, it's big. Wenham Lake is a sizable lake. That's big enough that it's less than half of it. The rest of it extends beyond the edge of the map.
Okay. I'm going to say, and let's see, the spooky dark stuff that's there. Whispers and strange shadows on Wenham Lake. That not only are there whispers and shadows, but that would this be an uncover something old? But the people start going missing there, in that area, if it's ever used for fishing or any sort of freshwater activities, like people are going straight up missing, and that's because there is a beast in there that is haunting people's nightmares.
That sounds like something old.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call it like some kind of Nessie sea serpent kind of beast.
Cool.
Do you mean that it's literally haunting nightmares, or?
Yes.
Okay.
It is literally and like it is literally haunting nightmares, but then it is also grabbing people from the surface and pulling them down to its depth.
So it's probably something on the Fey end of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was thinking like literally beast.
You mean the game Beast?
Like the game beast, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I think for our purposes, like in terms of generally referring to it.
Yeah. So there's sort of an attempt to kind of make these things talk to each other and connect the internal logics of the different games. So anything that touches on nightmares and dreams, that's going to be a changeling of one type or another.
I gotcha.
Or it's
Okay.
going to be associated with the Fey folk in one way or another.
I gotcha. That makes sense. All right. That's the uncover something old.
Okay. Projects Advance. Up next. It's me.
Wait,
It's Ethan.
No, it's Ethan. Okay,
It's
sorry.
Ethan.
The scroll thing on my... Yeah, anyways. It's Ethan. That makes more sense. Ethan.
Yep.
Your card is... the Ace of Hearts.
Wait.
What?
Wait.
Yep.
Can I take my turn back?
Why is that, Jeff?
You don't want there to be a sea serpent?
Well, I was just thinking about it. If the foxgloves are going to die soon, which they probably are,
Mhm.
I want them to establish a pack before they do that.
Okay, so then they've just gotten they just sort of gotten some readmittance into the community through this court system thing, right? So,
Right.
I mean, if you just want to note that's something that happened as the process, I mean, I think we can just say that.
Okay.
I don't think we
Yeah,
necessarily.
because
need
I
to
mean, there's
start
not
with
That's
really
kind
a
of
free
the-
action for that, is there?
That would be
You
a start
could
of
say-
project, I would think.
Yeah, you could do it a bunch of different ways, but I think we just want to say, look, they have a pack now, and I think that's.
Sure. Totally fine.
I don't think we need to undo.
Okay.
I'm excited about there being a monster in Wenham Lake, so let's just.
Okay.
Also, they have a pack now.
Good old Wenny.
All right. Now it's Ethan's turn.
Yes.
That was the Ace.
The Ace of Hearts.
All right. So Ace says, the occupation has left you all forever altered. Agree on something about how the humans changed you. Or one of you begins to manifest new monstrous qualities. What are they?
Okay. I am going to say this is going to be a very Ethan response. And this because now when I get a year, I'm actually Googling the year
Mhm.
and coming up with interesting things that are occurring. I am going to say that the siren has started a siren song, as it were, that is weirdly global in that she is channeling information and music and not news, but ideas and concepts magically that are also occurring globally. So that when you're near the shore, the siren has started being able to literally basically give you global news.
So she's social media
But-
now.
she's sort of like magical social media.
It's kind of tapped into the social unconscious.
Yes.
Okay.
Specifically, yes. And she's starting to channel a young child coming out of Austria. Guess who was born in 1756?
I don't actually have any idea.
I'm not going to embarrass myself by guessing.
Out of Austria. That would be Mozart.
So that's Mozart. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Is this a song that we can all hear, or do you have to be like near her island to hear it? Or
I believe, I don't exactly remember exactly how sirens specifically work but you would have to be near her.
okay,
Not necessarily communing with her or trying to talk to her, but when she is emanating her song, it is now a song of global information.
Oh, so she's sort of receiving this information and passing it on to people nearby.
Yes.
Not
exactly
like
that.
Exerting a global field of information sharing across the world.
Well, she's receiving it somehow, but yeah.
But it's okay.
I mean, I think just having paid a fair amount of attention to the way that sound carries around here, depending on the way the wind is and actually the way the water is, it could be anything from like half a block away you can't hear an incredibly loud noise to over just a crazy long distance you can hear, a significant noise, right? So like the idea that it might carry in on a still night from the islands to the shore could be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Given there's no like machine noise, it could get a fair distance inland.
And I will, I'm trying to think, do I want to uncover or do I want to project? I'm going to say it's not a project because they actually figure it out really like immediately. The thaumaturgists start or look into the issues surrounding the witch huts and inadvertently discover that the layout of the huts creates a arcane symbol.
This is the first set of witch huts?
This is the complete set of witch huts.
Oh, the complete set of witch huts. Oh.
Both the... So basically, when the
I like it.
When the
that sounds like Uncover Something Old to me.
Yeah.
Are you good with calling that Uncover Something Old? Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want it to be a project because I think it like I said, it's not something that like once you see it, you see it. Right. So so Uncover Something Old, and it's let's say it's a specific thaumaturgist. One thaumaturgist decides to take on and try to and is just kind of looking around because weren't they carving? Oh no, they're carving runes on the new ones. But but they've discovered that the complete set of the old witch huts around what's the name of that lake there, that pond, creates an arcane rune in its configuration.
Was it Spring Pond?
I think that's right.
That sounds right.
Sounds good. Anything else you want to establish about that?
Nope, that's it.
Great. Cool. Now it's my turn.
Yes.
And my card is the Six of Hearts.
That's the one I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
The Six of Hearts says, you see a good omen, what is it? Or you see a bad omen, what is it?
Ooh, interesting. Okay. I'm going to look at the map. I haven't looked at the map in a little while. And we're in the 1730s, basically. 1760s, excuse me. Somewhere in here is a year of the Wild Hunt.
Mm.
And in this year of the Wild Hunt, they come in much closer to the settled areas than they ever have before. Like so close that late at night, one evening, they're seen on the streets of Salem.
Mm.
And unlike in previous years, there's no chase. Like the hunt itself doesn't seem to be going on. But it's the same group of very creepy riders. And they walk through, they have this like eerie parade through the city center of Salem to Gallows Hill, and then they disappear into the hill.
I'm going to guess that's a bad omen.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad omen.
I mean, it doesn't sound good. And yeah, so project's complete, or project's turn, including the Nesbit project, completes this year. So after much, much longer than anyone anticipated or than was envisioned when they set out.
They find an ibis.
The ship that the Nesbits sent out, literally over 40, like about 40-ish years earlier, returns. Braden, I wanted to check with you about this.
Mm-hmm.
There's another mummy NPC you wanted to establish. Is this the right time for that character to arrive? Or is it an acceptable time for that character to arrive?
Sure.
Okay. So, the crew of the ship returns. They all, the entire crew is 40 years older. So like it's an elderly crew at this point, right? Some of them are missing. All of them are mute. They're incapable of speech when they return.
Mm.
And on board, they bring with them this mummy. You want to describe the mummy that arrives in town?
I had his name handy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, among the Nesbits, he's known as the Black Hand.
That's definitely enough of a name. We don't need to,
Mm-hmm.
If he has a true name or something, it's probably good to not mention it.
To other people, he appears to be a African, possibly North African, pretty tall, very hardy-looking man with a very dark look. And he dresses in modern-ish clothes, but with one black glove. And he has some ideas. He's brought with him apparently a whole lot of wealth and is investing it in a lot of established businesses in Salem and kind of public works projects.
Okay, I'm going to just embellish that slightly because it is technically my turn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that, like Mansa Musa, he has so much money with him that he temporarily disrupts the local economy.
Cool.
Causes some localized inflation problems, and eventually things have to adjust, and he has to start spending less money temporarily in order. So basically, like the ship is like a bunch of mute old people who can barely keep it together, this one mummy, and an unconscionable amount of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then I also need to choose an action. What will I choose? I just did a project. Probably don't want to do another project.
Nothing's stopping you from doing a project.
That's true. I mean, projects are cool. I like projects. They're fine. Let's see. It's a few... How many years since? It's enough time, I think, that there can be a descendant of the foxgloves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to call this character. So this will be start a project. Jeremy Foxglove declares that he will rescue the community from the terror of Wenham Lake.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think that'll take?
2. I'm going to assign it the number 2. Okay. That's my turn. And Braden, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we have a few things noted on the calendar here. The window here is roughly 1770 to 1775, or 1776, which includes obviously the outbreak of the Revolutionary War, Leslie's retreat the year before that, it's a historical event that Braden and I both know about. And then I think it's Braden, you noted some things about the smallpox hospital on Cat Island.
Yeah, there was a smallpox epidemic in Marblehead in 1773, and a smallpox hospital was built on Cat Island. And we'll see what the card says.
Where
For,
is Cat Island on the map?
no, it's
just a little further out of Marblehead.
It's just off of Marblehead.
Sure.
It's now called Children's Island.
Boring.
Because there's a YMCA camp there. Boring or potentially creepy.
What do they got there? Kids, but they ain't as big.
And you couldn't have children on an island called Cat Island because that's just obscene.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they got rid of all the cats.
So, no expectation that you incorporate any of those ideas, but or those historical events, but if you wanted to, now you are reminded of them. Your card is the Eight of Hearts, Braden.
Eight of Hearts says, how is status earned and defended in this community? Is there a clear hierarchy among monsters here? Or, beyond spoken words, how do monsters here communicate?
Interesting. It's a big society builder card.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to start actually with... Oh, but do I have to do the card first and then actions?
Card, then any projects, then actions.
Okay. Status in this community. Hierarchy. I think because we've all agreed on some kind of legal system, I don't know if there is any hierarchy here.
Oh, there's hierarchy.
This would be your opportunity to establish one if you thought it would be interesting. But your call.
Ooh, okay. One day, the Dryad is seen floating out of the harbor on a gnarled old oak. Guided by no wind, not paddling at all, she sails directly to Misery Island. She and the siren have a long conversation that lasts into the night. She paddles out of the fog the following morning and to a few select members of the supernatural community gives or leaves a branch from her gnarled oak. They can use this to communicate amongst each other, use it as basically a receiver for the collective unconscious that the siren is able to tap. They can talk one-to-one, or if they take one of these, or if they go to the siren, they can speak to anybody with one of these branches.
Like in the world?
Currently, the only branches that exist are in Salem.
Okay, only the people who have the branches. Got it. Okay.
But I'm just... So you said they can communicate one-to-one. So like if I have a branch and you have a branch, I can communicate directly to you.
Yeah.
But if I take my branch to the siren, I can communicate to everyone with a branch all at the same time.
Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah.
And they also receive the siren's song.
Yes.
Which goes along with mine. So now they have a way of getting international information.
I'll put a little radio antenna on the map now.
Cool.
And so what happened to the smallpox hospital is the following year after it was built, in actuality, locals got really freaked out and burned it down. I'm going to say that this was just kind of pushed over the edge by the fact that a lot of people now have some wealth and don't want to suddenly die of a horrible disease. So they wanted to stamp out any source of illness. So not much change from history there. However, the mute Nesbits have been spending a lot of time in the woods on Marblehead. They are building a tomb for the Black Hand.
Is that a project?
That is a project.
Okay, so project.
And it'll take, let's say...
It's maybe like a 3 turn?
Yeah, I was going to say 3 turns, yeah. What a tomb does is it is sort of allows a mummy to fully replenish his power, to weather the centuries, and to safely house relics of great power.
Cool.
And that's my turn.
All right. Well, then, if you've been counting cards, you know what this is. The Jack of Hearts.
Oh. All right. Jack of Hearts says, it is unusual that monsters form communities. Agree on something about why this community exists. Or, monsters have always lived in communities. Agree on something about the nature of monster communities. I'm going to say this is pretty unusual. So, who wants to lead this? I'm going to say actually that it's one of the werewolves. It's one of the werewolves who everyone just calls the old man. I mean, all the werewolves probably know what his actual name is.
Logan.
Probably a lot of people know what his name is.
No.
Everyone just calls him the old man.
Or Bub.
And for the purpose of this conversation, the old man says, we have a community here because this place is fraught. Without community, if we turn to infighting and interfighting and outer fighting, not only will we probably end up on the gallows, but this whole place will probably collapse into the pits of hell because it's really falling apart. Y'all can agree on that or not.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out who.
Wait, this is an agree on something?
Yep.
Yeah,
It's part of the move.
Some of the card actions trigger agreements.
The Venom monster.
who actually by now may have been beaten or not. Actually,
Well, we'll find out in exactly the next phase because the products happen in the middle of the turn.
The Venom monster says, I've been defeated.
Or have I?
Yeah.
The dreams of everyone in Salem that night are uncomfortable and incapable of being described.
The Sistren experienced exactly what the old man is talking about when they had their schism. And so they are in full agreement.
The Nesbits, to most people's surprise, agree with this. They recognize they're standing sort of between two worlds as mortals with connection to the supernatural, and offer to be feet in the daylight world.
I don't know if we clarified this, but are the people who returned on the ship and the Nesbits still the same group?
Well, the Nesbit, they split.
So
right?
they are two
So, like,
splits.
some Nesbit stayed behind and some returned. I didn't really establish when they came back, did they get reabsorbed or not? But also, at this point, the people who returned to the ship are dead. It's been like 60-ish years since that expedition set out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It contained adults, so
I feel like since they returned with a mummy, they probably at least sort of reintegrated.
Mhm.
Since they also went on to start building a tomb for that mummy.
Right.
You know, they may not have functionally reintegrated, but...
So it's not just the silent Nesbits who are building the tomb?
It was the silent Nesbits who were building the tomb, but they seem to have been welcomed back into their families, at least.
Okay.
Using their declining years to build a tomb for a mummy.
So who still has to weigh in?
I do.
And I do, but I don't know what I want to say yet.
I'll say that the Black Hand not only agrees, but produces a necklace that is like a bronze snake that's coiled into a loop to form the necklace. Right, like it's like a snake. When it's worn, it's like a snake eating its tail.
Mm-hmm.
The head hanging down in the middle. And and places this around the neck of the old man as a sign of like a recognition of wisdom and a place of leadership in the community.
And the old man essentially said, like, it's important that we're a community because otherwise this whole place is going to kind of fall apart and terrible things will happen. Was that sort of the gist of his statement? Yeah. Okay. I think the thaumaturgists are lukewarm to this statement. They think that the community is important, but for reasons unrelated to, like, oh, if we don't form it, it'll be disaster. It's just a really interesting undertaking in and of itself. And so they don't necessarily buy into the whole, like, our working together is the only thing that's keeping everything kind of sane and safe. But they do support the sort of continuing strengthening of the community because it's just sort of fascinating, and it's something to, you know, continue to collect information on and study for their own ends.
Is that everyone?
I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
All right. So Project Clocks Advance.
Project Clocks Advance, which means that Jeremy Foxglove's project to rescue the community from the terror of Wenham Lake comes to fruition, and he returns to Salem. And we still haven't really established if there's some kind of like a shared meeting point or anything exactly, really, but basically he returns triumphant, riding the back of a 3-headed plesiosaur.
In the Umbra?
Yeah, no, in the Umbra. You know, like in the Umbra or in the Cover of Darkness or whatever. Not like in front of people.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other project completes too, right?
Is that right?
The cataloging of visions.
Oh, yes.
So, Mr. Chamberlain emerges from his home with 6 large bound volumes. He travels into town, comes to a blacksmith, purchases a number of iron chains and locks, binds each of the books, and then disappears back into the cave. And now I get an action.
New England's Dark Day is also now.
Oh,
I don't know if you want to make use of that.
So it's both New England's Dark Day, and it's also the completion of the Revolutionary War. If there's anything you want to hang, any event you're interested in hanging that on, but don't have to use it.
So it is this mysterious dark day, and that's just a day when things got pretty dark, right? Not like pitch black, but like
twilight at noon, I think is the comparison.
Yeah, it's like there's an eerie darkness over the area.
Right.
That's all most people see. But anyone who's really attuned to the Umbra will see that umbral bridge just start shining like a beacon. And that lasts for about 3 hours. And then at the end of it, a black cat just strides off the end of the bridge, wanders out into town. That's all. That's to discover something new.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or old.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it your intent that this might be my character?
No.
Okay.
This is an umbral cat.
Okay.
It is whatever it's said to be. Okay.
There's room for 2 cats. It's a big town.
Yep.
I think there's room for 2 black cats in the city of Salem. But that seems...
Yes.
At least like 5.
But only 2.
Well, one of them is a puppet and one of them is a live action cat, depending on the shot.
Oh, man. More Sabrina the Teenage Witch references, please.
And now it's Casey's turn.
Well, so now it would be Casey's turn. That completes the season of spring.
Mhm.
And looking at the time, I think we might want to cut it here.
That makes sense. Makes sense to everybody?
Makes
Sure.
sense to me.
Okay.
All right.
With a new community and a
New country
fledgling nation.
Yes.
Mhm.
And a new cat.
New cat.
and new cat.
That's it this week for the Chimera. Our theme music is Hoof, Heart, and Hiss by Matt Weber. You can find a link to more of Matt's work in the show notes. Our intro this week was performed by Kitty Dorkling of The Mortal Path, which you can find on your podcast app or on Twitter at The Mortal Path. You can find us online at thechimera.space or on Twitter or Facebook at ChimeraPod, and you can support us on Patreon, also at ChimeraPod. Join us back here in 2 weeks when we'll be returning to the Deep Forest to play through the season of summer. We managed to get that all in one episode, and I think we'll be able to do that for fall and winter as well. And after that, we'll be tumbling headlong into the world of darkness. I think that's everything for now. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for listening.
I don't want LeVar Burton to have to come after us.
Yeah.
Mhm.